Hello, bot fans, and welcome to another episode of Red Square, Blue Square, your go-to for BattleBots recap and reaction. This is episode number 6. That's right, I've graduated to finally being able to use both hands to count how many episodes we've done here. And yes, you're just as surprised as I am. But we have two great guests tonight. I cannot wait to pick their brain and talk about not only tonight's episode, but the season as a whole. So here we go with another Red Square, Blue Square in the Red Square. He is one of the only competitors to color coordinate with his bot, but it looks so good. It's Victor Soto of Rotator. Welcome, Victor. How are you?
Hi, Richard. How are you? I'm great.
I'm doing great, man. Hey, like I said, I love the look. It is a great look. You know, I don't care what anybody else says. You guys make it look really good. So welcome again. And in the blue square, we have a man who loves to brag that he has more knockouts than Kenny Florian. And if you're not careful, he will give you a warning. It is John Remar, our BattleBots referee. Welcome, John.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, before we get too far into this discussion, let me just remind you that this is, well, actually, John, would you do the honors, please?
Yes, let me first say, warning, this episode is full of spoilers, so you've been warned.
All right, thank you. From the man that does it better than anybody else, John, the BattleBots referee. Well, we are at, what is this, like the midway point of the season now, and it feels like time is just flying. I'm sad, but also excited because I know that there's even more great fights on the horizon. John, this was like a near perfect episode for you because it had all knockouts except for the main event, which was very close to being a knockout as well. It went to decision. But let's talk a little bit about your role as referee real quick and some of the changes that we've seen. You are normally in there with the folks, the teams as they're driving. It's you and another referee. But now we're seeing you in a different spot outside of the box. Like, what all has changed and what are the reasons for some of those changes?
Sure. Well, the most obvious one is what we're all dealing with in our lives, which is COVID. So because of that, we had to make some changes that I think for the most part worked out pretty well. What we did was we added a divider between the two teams, and we wanted to make sure that we limited contact as much as possible, if completely. And so we moved the referees over to the other side of the arena, pretty much opposite where Chris and Kenny sit and do their commentary. And so that was one of the things that we did. What that did, though, was it opened up really a great opportunity for the referees to see the entire arena floor. And yes, Jake, I mean the entire arena floor, so that we can tell if somebody's pitting or lifting, or we don't have to try to look over somebody's shoulder or try to squeeze in and perhaps get in the way. I'm sure Victor can talk about later on how crammed it is up there and how much goes on. But we also eliminated the need for both referees to be involved in the fight at the same time. And so you actually don't see, or maybe you've noticed behind the scenes, there's another referee that stands further back behind where the drivers are, and they're able to observe and help. And most of that's there for safety and also being another set of eyes. So those are really the basic things that took place.
I think I speak for the entire sports and entertainment world when I say that you guys have, bar none, the best referee job, because you guys don't make the judges' decisions. It's you guys are there to regulate and count down and issue warnings if need be. But when it comes to decision fights and who wins, who loses, you're like, I did my part, I'm out.
The judges may have mentioned maybe once or twice that they would appreciate it if we can count out as many as possible, because it takes the pressure off of them.
Yeah, I don't envy their position at all. I think we've talked every episode of Red Square, Blue Square about judging, and we try to have as much fun at their expense as we can, because it's done and over with. You guys are watching the season unfold that you already know how it turns out. So there's not much that we can do in the moment, but it's still fun to talk about. So Victor, now shifting our focus to you as a competitor. Oh, wait, breaking news. This just in, Captain Shrederator is still spinning. For those of you that were wondering, Captain Shrederator is still Spinning. Okay, so Victor, speaking of spinning, your bot design a little different this year. I saw the Hexbug commercials and I was like, I remember that Rotator version. You guys went a little different this season. You're 0-2, but both decisions that really could have gone either way. So at this point in the tapings, like what's going through your mind as far as mentality wise, knowing that you have one more fight to really impress the judges, but there are 32 spots available and the Rotator name does hold a lot of value in the world of combat robotics.
Yeah, being 0-2 isn't a good spot. Not at all. And especially this year because in previous years, there's always been 4 fight night fights, as long as we've had the fight night format. This year, we learned that it was going to be 3 fights, so it even put more pressure to press the committee even more. So being down 0-2 is almost panic-inducing because we spent so much time and money and effort to get there, and you haven't won a match yet.
Do you feel like even though you're 0-2, that sympathy is kind of on your side though, just because, I mean, you had a great fight with Valkyrie, possibly fight of the year, and a lot of people disagreed with that judge's decision against Beta. So, I mean, you've got to feel like there's still a legitimate amount of hope for you guys to get in there because one win really is all it takes.
Yeah, I would hope, but it's something that I try not to count on. You know, I'm obviously trying to win every match possible, but as a competitor, I don't feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, it was very interesting to watch, especially when the judges asked to go into the battle box, which is the first time that's ever happened. Did you feel like that was going to help your case or it was going to make it worse?
In my mind, I and you can kind of see it in my reaction at the end of some fights. Either I'm really excited or I'm kind of like, put the controller down. Okay, we lost that one. So I kind of predicted we were going to lose that one. Just in my gut, I felt it. You know, we sustained a lot of damage, and it was pretty even throughout the entire match until the very end.
Fair enough. Well, John, you know, we saw the judges go into the box for the first time, and I want to say this is the first time I've ever seen a judge issue a warning to a team when there was that fight with Hydra and Huge. Was that the official first warning that's been issued in BattleBots?
I had no idea Jake was going to come out with the cow catcher, as I believe it's called. I looked at that thing and I said, that's pretty freaking incredible in terms of trying to deal with a robot that is very difficult to get to or that can easily get to you. And so, you know, when he wasn't listening, it just came out of my mouth. And I'm glad it did because I think it was the right thing to do. Then Jake gave me a little bit of colorful language after. It wasn't too colorful, but, you know, he gave some comments back, which certainly has every right to do. And I decided, you know, I was going to be professional and let him voice his opinion. He wasn't doing anything wrong at that point. And the rules state that you have 3 warnings before anything is done. And so, you know, I wasn't worried that anything was going to happen. Jake's a pretty smart guy. He's got a lot of strategy. He drove that fight magnificently. He didn't do anything wrong. If he had done something wrong from a build standpoint, they wouldn't have allowed him to fight like that. And if he did something wrong in the arena, we would have called him out.
He is great, and you're right. He has handled it very well. That did answer my next question because I was going to be like, okay, so what happens when they get a warning, and how many warnings do they get? But I see all of you guys with earpieces. Is there someone that's talking to you about whether or not to initiate something, whether it be a countdown or a warning, or is that strictly up to you as the referee?
I have in my ear the other referees because they're another set of eyes. I also have information coming from Greg and Trey, but the referees are completely independent. I train the referees to be completely independent. Sometimes we agree on things and sometimes we don't. Sometimes right after the fight, we're approached and we get into a conversation. And all we're trying to do is make the sport better. But I think at the end of the day, I think the referees know exactly what to do and they do a pretty good job. And no, nobody is telling us what to do. There's no script to follow. There's no pre-planning of anything whatsoever that goes on. And, you know, sometimes the referees we don't agree with each other. But that's the way sports work, right? You have referees out there, they're going to make the best calls that they know how.
I love that you guys are empowered to do that. I really do, because there's so much talk because of the formats, as in you guys are pre-recorded and then aired, about how much is gone into this strictly for the entertainment value. So to hear you say that, like, no, that's on us. We have conversations about it. We go through it. So that's a huge relief to hear, because some of the behind the scenes stuff, like, oh, I don't know how much reality TV this is going towards, but I think the integrity of the product is still very much there, alive, and you guys as referees ensure that we see that each and every week, especially when there are 6 knockouts on a 7-fight card. So well done, you got your reps in this evening for sure.
During ABC One, Chris Cohen, the executive producer, he came out before we had started any filming, had all the teams there, and he genuinely said to all the teams, listen, nothing is going to be staged here. Nobody's going to tell you what to do. And that's exactly how BattleBots has been from day one.
Well, again, great to hear. And we'll go ahead and go over this fight card as quickly as we can and talk some more kind of behind the scenes stuff. Because this episode was really straightforward. There were some wow moments, but some also feel good moments. Captain Shrederator finally in the win column. I was really worried for a minute there, because I know that this bot has a lot of history. There's a legacy there. And I know it was against Axe Backwards, and I love Kurt to death, but they have just not had a very successful design, and I don't know what it's going to take for them to have a successful design. But Victor, obviously, is someone who loves this sport and competes in it now. You see someone like Kurt with Axe Backwards and their design struggling against another bot who had been struggling for whatever reason in Captain Shrederator, and then they finally get the win. What kind of emotions are that? Are you kind of back and forth, or you're just happy it's not you?
Well, it's definitely, I feel good when the team that's kind of having a bad luck streak gets a win finally. I definitely know what that feels like. And everyone works so hard on these robots, and there's a balance in trying to keep your design without changing it too much to be successful, but then also trying to improve it to the point where you can be successful. And I thought it was really cool what Axe Backwards did, and add that I guess like a wedge in the front, because it also reinforced those axes that tend to kind of fly off, and it gave him a pretty good edge against Captain Shrederator. He was getting some good shots there, getting underneath them. Um, but Captain Shrederator is a little different this year, and he's getting his reliability on. Uh, Maybe too good. He couldn't turn it off after that. But no, that was a great fight. Like I actually hadn't seen that one when I was at the event. I didn't see it live, so this was my first time watching it on TV, and it was a good fight.
It was a really good fight. I'm glad we've had some great ones to start off each episode. And yes, still okay. Yeah, Captain Shrederator is still spinning. So just so we get our check in there periodically. The next fight, though, that is a wow fight. Copperhead, and I knew them from their Poison Arrow days. They were one of the first interviews that I ever did on the F.A.N show, and I can thank John for helping set that up. I owe you a lot, Mr. Remar, for this relationship and me being able to do red square, blue square. So let me just take a quick moment to thank you for that and all the relationships that you've helped me build in this amazing sport that is BattleBots.
Yeah, I just gave you an invitation to come down and do more, because I heard you talk about it. I think you were talking about local sports in your community and maybe some wrestling. And then the show went on to BattleBots, and I said, we got to have this guy here. If he's supporting us, we got to support him. And then you did the rest.
I was doing a live show in my spare bedroom of the house we lived in at the time, and I was talking with a buddy of mine about all the sports that you just named. And there's a TV that is on in the background just for some background noise, and maybe something comes up that we didn't think to talk about, and it could remind us. And there was a promo for BattleBots, and I was like, wait! Did you know that this was still a thing? Like, it was on Comedy Central, and now it's back. And then I tagged BattleBots on Twitter when I posted the episode, and you reached out to me. So the rest, as they say, is history, and it's been
Awesome.
a crazy fun ride. So yeah, there's a fun fact for you, Victor, in case you didn't know
cool.
that.
Yeah, no, that's really cool.
But yes, Copperhead now, not Poison Arrow. They had a big knockout win over P1, and you feel for P1 because that's another one of those designs that you want to see them stick to what they like as far as the look of their bot, the feel of their bot, and what they're trying to accomplish. But Ricky Willems said on one of the other episodes we just did recently that anyone will tell you when it comes to what you can do better, that Kraken is apparently the standard and the model for how to stay true to what you're doing and yet improve on it. Victor, as someone who is in the pits the last several seasons, would you agree to that sentiment?
Yeah, yeah. The Kraken team has been very constant in their design. Matt's just kept improving it year after year, and it's tough as nails now. We're kind of a little bit different from that because we started with a double blade design, and now, as you can see, we're in single blade. And to me, it was more like getting rid of excess robot rather than really changing it that much. Just cut off the last third of the robot.
I think what Kraken has also brought is they've helped people elevate their brand, because they really have a very clear brand with what they bring in their costumes and the whole look of the team. And so I really like what they've brought to the sport.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Victor brings the sunglasses. I need to get a pair of those. Victor, like seriously, those are some stunner shades right there, my friend.
Victor brings a coolness factor to BattleBots.
Yes.
About it.
Well, good for Copperhead. They joined the 2-0 list, which it seems like you keep the same number. You lose one, then you add one. I know that Ricky was really looking forward to possibly being on that 2-0 list, and they fell short against Hypershock, which, wow, that was another great fight. Both bots 1-1. Will Bales, it's like you either get it or you don't when it comes to his fights. It's either going to be amazing or something is going to go terribly wrong. And that's BattleBots, though. That's just the gamble when you play the game. So at 2-0, Copperhead joins the list. Valkyrie, Uppercut, Jackpot, Hydra, Bloodsport, Black Dragon, and Lockjaw. And still alone on top of the 3-0 mountain is Mad Catter. What do you guys think of that list? Victor, let's start with you. At this point, knowing that there's only 3 fights this year in the season, that 2-0 list, a lot of names that you probably weren't expecting if you've been a fan of this sport since the beginning.
Yeah, well, this year's pretty different. The environment has changed due to COVID. There's a lot of teams that weren't able to come, and then it also gave other teams extra time to refine their robots, because we didn't film in March or April. We ended up filming in October. So some people had access to the robots and were able to spend extra time to perfect it, and others didn't. So everything kind of got reshuffled. It's really cool seeing the new faces and the new robots up there. I just wish I wasn't so far down.
Yeah, there's a 2-1 list now with only 2 bots on it. I'm sorry, Victor, Rotator is not on that list right now. That's another list for another time. But John, as a referee, the head referee of BattleBots, and one of the guys that was with this product from the very beginning, you're clearly a fan of this sport. So what do you think of the field that we've seen this year, just looking back at everything that's been to where it is now?
There's no question in my mind that this is the best season of BattleBots that we've had. And we've had some incredible fights. In fact, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, Victor, where you put on one of the most spectacular fights I've ever seen? And I think in this season, we've had more destruction, more sparks, more excitement, more drama, more unexpected people, unexpected bots. And I think that's what makes this season so much more exciting than previous seasons.
Yeah, this has been one of the best seasons. Now the drama, though, there's some, cut to the pit where there's some disagreements and discussions happening that I'm not sure how I feel about that just yet, but it has been 2 hours of great content. Like I say every episode, you don't feel like you're watching 2 hours of BattleBots. Like it starts and then it's over before you even realize it. So everything else, though, fantastic. From you guys need a bigger and more reinforced battle box, because there's been a few close calls in there with explosions and cameras and lights going out, but hopefully you guys got your security deposit back at least.
Yeah, No, we're doing it. We're doing it safely. It's all going well. I can tell you though, uh, with one of the changes is me being over in the corner by myself. I used to feel a little bit protected because I'd hang back behind the teams, and I felt if something was coming through, at least I had one of them in front of me.
I would stand in front of you usually.
That's right. I'd be like, there's
Grab-
Victor.
You grab Victor by his hood. Here, oh, move. Block this. Back to the fight card. We did skip over one, and that is breaking news. Hallelujah. Amen. Beta has fired their primary weapon. I say again from the mountaintop, Beta has fired their primary weapon. They are undefeated. Sorry, Victor. I know that one probably stings a little, but moment of silence for Rusty's undefeated season is no more. All right. So this was great demonstration of what Beta can actually do. This is what we thought we would see against you, Victor. Do you feel kind of a sense of relief now watching this fight, knowing that that's damage you didn't have to repair on your bot?
It's slightly different situation, but I almost would have preferred Beta would have used a hammer, even though it would have damaged us. Yeah, you know, all robots are serious. Rusty, obviously, you know, it's not the same caliber as the others, but everyone still loves Rusty. And it was heartbreaking watching that. We want Rusty back.
We all want Rusty back. And John, you know, from your perspective, since there were no fans in attendance this season, there's no question though that BattleBots is just one big family. You guys all love each other down there, except for when, you know, the "Are you ready? Are you ready?" and the lights flash, and then it's fight time. But still, you know, aside from those 3 minutes, you guys are one big huggy family. And to have a newcomer like Dave Eaton and Rusty, and it's only his second fight in history. He's 1-0 going into the battle box, and the builders, not the fans, but the builders are chanting Rusty before and after the fight. Like, what does that do for you emotionally to see that from your extended family in BattleBots?
Yeah, you know, it's exciting to see. You know, you've got a newcomer, and I was talking about unexpected earlier, and that's an unexpected element where you see this guy come in, where some people look at him and go, is this a joke? Is this real? Is that thing really going to fight? What's that? Is that some sort of rotary tool on the front of his salad bowl, as Chris would call it? And so it was really an exciting moment, I think, not just for everybody in the arena, but for me as a referee, to see when he got knocked over, that he had a way to ride himself back over. I had no idea that he was able to do that. And everybody cheered that was around. Yeah. So I think it was from that point on that people said, Rusty is an exciting part of the show, and I want to see more.
You can see in the pits, well, you couldn't see, but I could see in the pits, we were all watching in the monitors, and nobody knew that Rusty could self-right. And when that happened, everyone in the pits just erupted. And yeah, like, yeah, this is still going on. That was great.
So, Victor, how big of a Rusty fan are you?
Pretty big. I know what it feels like to be the underdog. So and the fact that he built it all on his own is super impressive. You know, as a new competitor, you get to see like the like almost like the stress before the fight, and it's just like, yeah, it is pretty stressful before the fight because it's something that you spend a lot of time and effort on, and it could get destroyed. And it's just like, we're all crazy for doing this, but it's so much fun.
It is a lot of fun. We love Rusty. I'm glad you guys are such big fans of his, and I'm glad, you know, 1-1 is obviously a tremendous accomplishment for a newcomer, considering you guys are guaranteed 3 fights, and there wasn't a whole lot of, you know, outlook as far as what his bot was going to perform like. But it's just a very proud moment to have him be there and be doing this and having a lot of fun doing it. So good for David Eaton. And that brings us to SubZero getting a knockout over Scorponok. SubZero looks really good. They lost that first fight, but the 2 fights since, I don't know what you would consider their strength of opponents because we don't know a lot about Scorponok, but this is definitely a different SubZero than what we've seen. I had Logan on the last episode, and he's back on the team, so I don't know if he was the missing piece. But Victor, how much differently does it feel when you add and lose members and get members back on your team, and how often has that happened to you guys in Rotator?
It could be very impactful, depending on how your team's structured. So yeah, definitely, if the way you assign responsibilities to your team, if one of your main people leaves, it could really hurt you. Fortunately, I haven't had too much of that. We did have our teammate Gary. He's now in Team Hypershock this year, and he was kind of like my right hand man that would help me organize a lot of the tasks that needed to happen. And now without him, it's just like, oh, now I got to handle that too. In addition to everything else, I got to handle a lot of logistics that I didn't have to handle before. But it's great to see SubZero performing well. It's awesome seeing them do flips.
Very entertaining. Again, love the entertainment value that we're getting out of this season. Probably one of the best fields that we've seen, especially considering the circumstances, which you can't forget. And I know Greg worked his tail off, and all the production crew, Aaron and Trey and all those guys to make this thing happen. So John, since you're part of that crew, I mean, what were those meetings like and was there a moment where you just really weren't sure if you guys were going to be able to make it happen?
There were many times where I was wondering, we were all wondering if we were going to make this happen. I think what happened was, for whatever reason, everything just kind of fell into place. We kept postponing because we started in April. We're going to shoot in a couple months. We're going to shoot in a couple more months. Finally, things calmed down. I'm sure Victor's sitting there at home trying to figure out when he's getting on a plane to fly out here. And watching the caseload finally start to dip down, we got in there right in time, and we got out right in time. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't think we had one single case of COVID, anybody testing positive during the whole event.
For you guys to get out with no positive cases, I remember Greg messaging me because I said congrats on a successful taping right when you guys finally said, all right, that's a wrap. And he's like, you can congratulate me when everybody gets home and there's no positive cases coming back. So a huge props to you guys. I don't think you guys get enough credit for just not only making it happen, but as smoothly as it did. Because even the NFL, they had to postpone games, they had to restructure some schedules, and it could have gotten really ugly really fast for them, and you guys just weathered the storm. So congrats to you, props to you guys, cast and crew, and of course builders like Victor Soto. And that brings us to Tracer and Balespear. This is one of those rare occasions where both these bots had previously unaired fights, so they came in tonight making their season 5 debut, but they had records already. So now we have Tracer with a victory, their first win of the season, very convincing one. They're 1-2 over an 0-3 Balespear. So I feel like Balespear is officially eliminated from possibly getting into the field of 32. I'm not going to say anything for sure, but just this season, it certainly feels that way. Victor, is there any bot that could get in at 0-3 in your mind? Tombstone, if they would have been 0-2 at this point?
I don't know. I think if you're 0-3, it's very tough to get in. I think, yeah, it's round of 32, so only 50% of the robots can get into the tournament round. So if you're an 0-3, that's really tough.
And that leads us to our main event, and what a main event it was. It was the only decision tonight, so sorry, John, we did not have a card full of knockouts. Still holding my breath for the day that it's just every fight is a knockout, and we'll have a little celebration for you, and we'll all wear ref shirts to celebrate the day that every fight is by knockout. But Whiplash and Gruff and Whiplash, wow, their fight against Sawblaze, that was a phenomenal fight, and that one could have gone either way. And this one really could have gone either way, but in the end, it was a unanimous decision for Whiplash. John, you didn't get to count anyone out this time, so is this one of those fights that you see where the clock is at and kind of where they're at in the battle box, and you're like, okay, yeah, it's not going to happen this time, so I'll just kind of enjoy these last 20 seconds.
It's always fun to see a fight that has a lot of action with two really good teams, two great drivers. I love the flame element. I love how quickly the bots are able to move. They're very evenly matched, I think, in a lot of ways. And so letting this one go to the judges, I think, was the best outcome.
Victor, what do you think was the I guess, X factor in this? Because it wasn't a split decision, it was unanimous, but it really, for a while there, could have swayed either way. What do you think was ultimately the tipping point for Whiplash?
The fact Whiplash is a little bit faster and it's very well driven. They were able to get to Gruff's side quite a few times and either flip Gruff over or keep him on their side. And at that point, Gruff really can't do anything. So they just have to wait until they're up against the wall to try to self-ride again. But Whiplash had a lot of instances of doing that. So that's a lot of aggression and control. And they were getting damage points with their blade, chipping away at Gruff's underside and things like that. So I think it was just a lot of the fight was really dictated by Whiplash.
We do leave it in the trusty hands of the judges at the end of the day, whether or not we 100% agree with them each and every time, as another discussion, which we've had quite a few times. But overall, great episode, great season so far. We've got a great field of competition, a lot of 2-0s, and then several on the bubble. So Victor, my last question for you, at 0-2, knowing that you've had tough opponents and some decisions, again, that really could have gone either way, what would your argument be for your bot to get into the field of 32, not knowing what the outcome is of your third fight, but just right now at 0-2?
This year is probably the best rotator we've had. We had a lot of work to get it as reliable and as powerful as possible. Our first fight, I think should have been the other way around. We should have won that one. And, it just, hanging around 3 minutes of beta is a good case for that. And then in our second fight, 3 minutes with Valkyrie, put on a pretty good fireworks show there. Lost our armor at the end, but still ready to rock right after. We'll put up good fights and we'll definitely, be resilient. So I think that plus our history of being able to have some knockout power and get some upsets would give us a pretty good chance to make it into the top 32. Yeah.
So to recap, Victor, it's because best rotator you've ever built, and you guys are gonna give good fights. You guys have had great opponents so far. I say yes. You are in the field of 32. You have convinced me. I'm not. No, I am not on the selection committee. Breaking news. I'm not. We're gonna have to find out how to correct that. BattleBots, this is your warning that I'm not on the selection committee.
When you're driving your bot, you have control of both the bot movement and the weaponry at the same time. How difficult is it to coordinate those two things during a fight?
So I used to do that in previous years. And the fight that I'm most proud of, because it was the most mentally taxing, was a Scorpio. So I had the double blade. And so I use tank drive. So I have 2 sticks for 1 per wheel. And so I do tank drive with the 2 thumbs. And then I had a low blade on my index finger and a high blade with my other index finger. And that was just like the most mentally fatiguing fight, where I was turning one off and the other one on, just depending if I'm near the wall, like low blade off, top blade on, and then wait a few seconds for the other blade to finally get free to turn that one on. And looking back at that fight, I could see every time I'm turning on and off blades, my drive stops, because I'm looking at and I'm thinking about that. And then every time I'm driving, I forget to turn on or off my blades. And then I finally decided to split the driving for the weapons to another teammate. And it's been helping a lot. I'd seen people do that before, and I didn't really understand it until now that I tried it. And
Victor, are you good at first person shooters?
I'm pretty decent. Yeah, I've had a lot of practice.
It makes a lot of sense then. It's like that's what it would correlate to in my mind.
If this could be my remote, that'd be a dream. I've been trying to figure that out, how to make the PS4 my rotator remote.
That will do it for this episode of Red Square, Blue Square. You guys have been fantastic, and a lot of insider info. John, I'm glad to get another member of the crew on here to talk about your guys' kind of aspect and everything that went into, the changes and dealing with the challenges from this season. So Victor, John, thank you guys so much for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great to be on the show with you, Victor, and Richard. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, John. Can't thank you enough for everything that you've done. And remember, folks, New episodes of BattleBots are on Discovery every Thursday night at 8, 7 Central, and Red Square, Blue Square episodes every Friday at whenever we get around to uploading them. So make sure that you've liked the fan show page and check back for those. And we're not just going to cut out this time. John, if you could give us a count out here to end the episode, I would greatly appreciate it.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's a knockout.
All right, guys, that's it. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.